Corbolic V2. This is a super safe and effective natural anabolic. Not only is this product going to help you increase protein synthesis, which basically means muscle recovery and growth, it also may inhibit myostatin, which is a protein in your body that is known to inhibit muscle growth. This is a complete natural anabolic that works through multiple different pathways, has multiple trademarked ingredients. If you are a natural athlete looking for that edge, Corbolic V2 is what you need. Get yourself some.
Hey guys, welcome to the Pro Physique Code. Today, we're going to have a really fun interview with Joy, who was our over 50 champion for our Fall into Fitness Challenge. How are you today, Joy?
I'm happy. How are you?
I can see that. It's awful early. You're in Arizona, right? So it's
Yes.
pretty early there. Is it 7 a.m.? That's 3 hour
8.
time. Oh, it's 8. Okay.
It just changed.
Yeah, so I think the thing that stuck out to me when I was reading over your history was that we kind of have a similar background. You were familiar with the Bill Phillips transformation challenges.
Yes.
So
From 30 years ago.
There was EAS, big supplement brand from the 90s. Bill Phillips, Body for Life. He had a book and a tape, and it was those were definitely the pictures. I remember flipping through the magazines and seeing those before and afters and thinking like, wow, that's pretty inspiring.
Same here. I was fascinated, and at that time I didn't really have a need for a big transformation, but I still bought the book and the VHS tape, and I just was fascinated with what the body is capable of doing.
Yeah, and likewise, I played sports growing up, so I was never out of shape, but I didn't understand how people got to that level that they looked like they were chiseled out of granite, right? I was like, what is the difference between what I'm doing, which is playing sports, lifting weights, eating well, and like that. And so again, like you know, I have like on the shelf there, I have my modern bodybuilding encyclopedia from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Somewhere in here, I have the Bill Phillips Body for Life. So yeah, I definitely had that same kind of interest in, you know, enhancing my physique or optimizing it from a very early age. But it seems like at some point you kind of went off that track because it says a little bit about you were drinking and smoking. So talk to me a little bit about what got you to enter our challenge, because
By
you
the
did make
time,
quite a transformation.
yeah. So I actually right now am at 85 pounds that I had lost. I had about a decade of
Okay.
darkness, just some
Yeah.
personal traumas. And that's when I went off the fitness path, and I was, eating, drinking to numb all the pain. And I didn't really realize how much weight was going on me. And it was like one day, it was like a picture.
Sure.
And, you see yourself and you're like, what's that? Like, I don't even know how it happened, but it was, just eye opening. And,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how I put on all that weight. But your challenge was I had already lost about 60 pounds. And then I just kept putting on 10 and taking it off and putting it on. And I never really reached the physique I wanted, even when I was at the goal weight, it just didn't look the way I wanted it to look.
Yeah.
And so I sought out the best and wondered what they did. So that's how I found you. And
Well, let's talk about because what I like to provide here is a framework for those that are curious, like, okay, because I think a lot of people from the outside looking in go, okay, you've got to do something extreme, like you're doing these long fasts, or you're getting a shot that makes you never eat, or, just you're completely eliminating some form of food. And so what I like to provide is like, let's talk about real world examples of nutrition, of cardio, of lifestyle that allow these changes to happen and be maintained. Because everything I mentioned there, while they may help you lose body fat or change your body composition, they're not sustainable. And so we start to run into these kind of back and forth. So let's talk about over this challenge, how did you approach your nutrition? Do you know where your calories kind of started and ended and those kind of things?
yes, so I started my calories around 1600, and I had set out a plan to take them down to 1200 over the 3 months, just for that last month. But that's not the way it went, right? I started them at 16 and I was overly full because I hadn't been used to eating that much protein.
Sure.
So the lowest I took them was about 1350, but that was
Okay.
only about 2 weeks. And
And what
towards
was your body weight when you were at the 1350? Do you know?
it was around 130, 135.
Okay. So
I
that's
didn't go
actually,
under.
I talk a little bit about calories to body weight, and you
Mhm.
were over 10 times your body weight in calories. So to me, that's a very
Yes.
safe place. Okay.
Yes. And I took that advice from you. I didn't go under the 10 times. And so, but at the end of the challenge, I was back up at 1700. My activity level was just so high. Um, I rechecked in on your macro calculator and I was actually could have had over 2000, but I
Right.
couldn't just add 500 calories in um, overnight.
Well, yeah, that calculator, it's based on theory. So like your experience is obviously going to trump that. And if you're being diligent with your nutrition, then I always tell people like you know more than our app would ever know.
Right.
If anything, if you were at say 1700 calories and you were still dropping weight and
I
you were,
was. Oh my
then I would
goodness.
say to anyone listening, that's when I would suggest adding 50 to 100 calories per week, right?
Yep.
Paying attention to like, okay, let's just add 50 calories and see how I feel. Because you're correct. If you do throw 500 calories on top of what you're doing, A, you might not enjoy it, and B, you're more likely to start putting on some body fat.
Right. So that's exactly what I did. I just added 100 and then I kept it
Love
like
it.
that for a week and just checked in with myself like how was I feeling and what was my energy like and was I still dropping weight? And I was. So I
So
even
what was the
dropped weight.
total? What was the total? Because you said something about roughly 25 pounds, right? So what was the total that you were
Oh,
interested in losing, for the 90 days, and what did you actually lose?
well, my goal weight would have been 137. So that would have been 17 pounds that I would have wanted to lose, but I ended up losing 32 and now I'm at 34. So I lost another 2 pounds in this last month.
So let me tell you why that's so significant to me. A, the number on the scale is a number that I think a lot of us have an association with. It can be bad. Um, it's helpful for those of us that track it frequently, but I think we all have a number in our head where we start to worry. But you've obviously gone well below what you thought, but yet you're happy about it. So
I'm happy. I'm very happy with my
and I mean,
result.
especially if you're eating more than you were at the end of the challenge and dropped weight over what would most be considered the most difficult time of the year, the holidays.
Right. That wasn't
So-
an issue for me. And I'm up to 2,200 calories now.
And what was your weight most recently?
This morning it was 120.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're getting into
I'm
that
5'8".
category. Yeah, you're getting into that almost double your weight in calories. So when I've few times in my coaching career, I've had athletes that I've gotten their calories 20 times their body weight while they were lean. Um, it's an exciting place to be.
It is. And I got to tell you, because I had started my weight loss journey about almost 6 years before this challenge. And I never lost weight this systematically and this consistently and having so much fun with it. I had so much fun and I had so much good food. Like I loved all of the food I was eating and I wasn't hungry and I almost felt guilty. Like I didn't even share that in the group because I read some people
Sure.
were struggling. They were hungry and not having a good time. So I just didn't share that.
Well, that's fair. That then you're like me. You don't want to hurt people's feelings, and
Right. Right.
um, but I mean, so maybe they'll listen to this and understand that like, listen, I'm not suggesting that everyone's going to be able to drop weight by eating more and moving less, but what I will say is that when you make this a lifestyle and you don't look at it like black and white, um, and don't, I mean, even though this is a 90-day challenge, which I think is important for a deadline for most people, if you look at it as it's the rest of your life, don't get caught up on the scale in one day or another. I think there's some valuable lessons there. Um, did you do this completely on your own, just
Yes.
with our
Yes.
community and whatever we provided with nutrition and training? So what did you find? I got a couple questions, but what did you find was the most valuable part for you? Did you enjoy the community aspect?
I did enjoy that, but I was able to stay detached from not seeing them as competing with me.
Right.
Like I was able to, I understood that the only thing I could control was me and how well I was performing and consistency and my dedication, devotion, all that. So I focused on integrity to myself. And I made
Yeah.
an oath that every day I was going to give 110%, period. Like I didn't leave any wiggle room for excuses. You know, I had
Sure.
gotten over all of that before this challenge.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you've got a little wall behind you. Tell me
Look,
about
it's my
that. It's like,
victory wall. Look,
that's
that's
amazing.
my t-shirt that I bought,
Oh, so you actually got the shirt. That's awesome.
and I framed it. And all of these are all the comments the
I was going
group
to say
left.
they look like Facebook messages.
They are. Those are all the beautiful comments everybody left under my pictures, and I wanted to remember them. So I
That's very
printed them.
cool. That's
Thank you.
very cool. So let's talk a little bit about, because I don't want people to think there's magic in this. Obviously, you were being diligent with your diet. I would expect that as your calories went up and you started dropping weight, your energy increased. Maybe there was an increase in activity. So talk to me a little bit about cardiovascular exercise. Did you have a specific plan each week for cardio?
I did. And I did most of it walking. And I got the inspiration from David Goggins. Do you know who that
Okay.
is?
Of course, I'm familiar with David. I didn't.
Oh,
I know he talks about very extreme things,
he is.
but I
He
didn't
is.
know about his walking discussions.
Well, he doesn't talk about walking. He runs 100 miles a week, is what I
Mhm.
heard. So I thought, well, that's what I'm going to set my walking at, 100 miles a week. And I ended up averaging 104 miles a week. So it's over 200,000 steps a week,
So
almost
talk
30.
to me about that, because that's I'm just trying to. I know it takes about 15 minutes or so to walk a mile. So how did you? I'm trying to just do the math. How many miles did you walk per day?
Oh, around 15.
Okay.
But I really utilized those early morning. I would get up at 3 a.m.
Ah,
So before 6, I've already had the first 10 or 15,000 in. The day didn't even start, you know, the sun is just coming up. So the rest of the day to get in the next 15.
now is that something you're doing outside, inside? Where are you doing that at?
Well, I live in Arizona. So when we started this challenge, it's 115 degrees out here. So
Even
I
at
did
3 a.m., huh?
at 3 a.m. It's over 100.
Yeah,
So I did a lot of the steps in my gym on the treadmill.
nice.
But yeah, I just
You know, it's interesting because if anybody that's listening to this remembers our male winner from our last challenge, Dan, he also did something similar. I remember he walked 2 million steps during the challenge. He did like a step goal, and he was averaging 20 to 30,000 steps a day, which I know a lot of people, that's extreme. And I'm not saying it's not extreme. This is a competition, but it's walking. And so when someone's
it's
like, oh,
walking, right?
yeah, it's walking. And so you can multitask. So
Yes.
for the next 14 days, today is, I know it's the 6th. To me, this is the start of the new year. Like
Right.
today is January 1st for me. So I decided I'm going to do a 14-day get up and walk 1 hour to start my day. I got up at 5:30, done by 6:30, cleaned up, got my son to school. You know, like you said, it's like it's you've done something to start the day while most people are still sleeping.
Sleeping,
Um,
yeah.
and
And
it
I meditate during that first hour. And so
okay,
I'm not even paying attention to how many steps or, you know, I'm just with no thought. The body just does it. And before you know it, the time is up. And then I put
yeah.
on something educational. So I'm learning, meditating, and I'm getting inspired before the day.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to discuss, because people that are proponents of walking or tell me that it's a waste of time. I'm like, well, not if
No.
you use it as time to be productive. You know, I like you said, you put on something educational. I myself like to put on a series or a show that I'm interested in, because I don't have time to watch TV. I don't have time to sit on the couch and watch TV. That is a luxury that I just don't really get too often. Just, through, it's my own preference. I'm busy throughout the day and I have kids and, business. But so
Yeah.
that to me is almost like my time to just
Right.
zone out, watch a show. I actually, it makes me look forward to the cardio when I wake up.
Mhm.
I don't care who you are. You wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning. It takes a second to go, okay, I got to get, but when I have something to look forward to, like a show, it helps.
Right.
So what was the most, did you do it? Because I remember Dan telling me he had like one day where he did something extreme. Was there anything you were like, let me just try something extreme
Yes. Well, first I did it was 2,500,000 steps for the 90 days.
for 90 days? Okay.
Yep. And my birthday, I wanted to hit the 51,000 and I ended up getting 53,000, but that was like my,
Wait a minute. I think that's what Dan did. I think on his 50th birthday, he did
Yeah, I
50,000
found that out
steps.
after.
Yeah, that's okay. I couldn't remember what he did, but that's exactly what he did. That's really awesome. So, yeah, my
Yeah.
50th birthday is this year too. So, I don't know if I'm that crazy, but it sounds fun.
It is. And it's not as big as, it's not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially if you start early and break it up throughout the day. And I think this is
Right.
where, you know, when I travel, you pay attention to the people when you travel to a certain place. And I'm not going to call out people of a certain place because I don't want to make anybody angry. But let's just say in the last couple months, I've traveled to a location where it's a bigger city and you have to walk everywhere. And I saw zero obese people. I'm sure they
Right.
exist there,
Right.
but when you see thousands of people and nobody's obese, you notice.
Yeah.
Likewise, another city that I was in recently where there is no walking, you have to drive everywhere. And everywhere I went, the majority of the people were obese.
Right.
So, and it's one of the states that has the highest obesity in the country. And I think it's because it's a highly, you know, you have to drive. There's no walking. Um,
Right.
that's the way of life. And I think the way to circumvent that is to create movement in our day and include it in our
Definitely.
day.
Well, that's one thing that I observed when I had that much extra weight on me was everywhere I went, I seemed to see just people that were around my age driving the grocery buggies,
Yeah,
and I heard my soul say to me, like, you're looking at your future. You have to change,
right.
So it was just too confronting to me to not change.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've done the work. You've lost like 85 pounds, like you said, and
Yeah,
now you're at a point where, shoot, you're probably eating more than you were when you had that weight when you
I
started the
am.
journey. So to me, that's a measure of control that you can sustain this because I think I've had friends that have, done the shot and they've lost a lot of weight. But when you stop taking that shot and your hunger returns and you didn't develop the routine on your own, it's
Right.
very easy for it to spiral out the other direction. Whereas you are now eating more than you were before.
Yes, I
Um,
am. And
so
it's like I've heard you say this before and it resonated with me was you have to like dive to the old version of yourself.
sure.
Like the version of myself that started this journey is, I don't even know where she, she's just gone. I've transformed so many times. The
Yeah.
way I look at food and the way I will spend money on food is completely different than what it was.
Well, explain a little bit about what you mean to that, because I think that's important.
Well, I used to want to get as much food for as little money and just really cheap, quick food, like I
Sure.
saw like cooking for myself as a burden. And now I see it like as an act of love and an act of respect that I'm worthy of and deserve. And like, so when I'm making my food, I feel like it's an act of creation and I feel grateful for it. So it's enjoyable rather than a burden. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to cook myself a meal and oh, this organic food is more expensive. Like I don't see it that way, but I
Right.
remember I used to.
Yeah. Like I have very strict memories of the first time I ever, so for me, it was I decided I was going to do a bodybuilding show and I thought, man, how am I going to manage all this meal prep in my day? And the first thought I had after a week or two of doing this was like, I have so much extra free time because I'm not worried about what I'm going to eat.
Right. It's weird how that works. Like the only resistance I had leading up to the challenge was tracking the food, right? And
Right.
so I was like, for me to stay consistent with that, I have to make it fun. So I just pretended that the app was making a deposit every day of money.
Yeah.
And then I could go on a shopping spree and spend my calories. And so
Nice.
I made it fun and creative. And I'm still tracking I'm enjoying it now. Like I just
Yeah.
trained my mind to enjoy it. And so yeah, I've just transformed my mindset around everything.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's multiple reasons for that. There is I'll say this, on the days if I get up and I don't for whatever reason get up and do cardio right away and I just start working, I notice that I have less creativity, I have less
Mhm.
patience, I have less excitement. When I get up and move before I work, I feel like it's just a different version of me. And so
Yes.
now I almost don't want to, like, I'll even delay work to go do some cardio just to get my creative juices flowing. Um, so I think the meal prep stuff, you know, because I've had, you know, I've got some videos with a lot of views with me walking where I lost some weight, and they're like, well, you only lost weight because you ate differently. And I said, well, but the walking got me to eat differently.
Yeah.
I chose my foods that day based on the fact that I had already gotten up and I was already feeling good. I was ahead of my schedule. Maybe I had time
Right.
to meal prep. So I think people,
And
these things are related.
yeah, and the tracking of the food, it just organizes my grocery shopping, what you need, the time you spend, it does free up time. And all that extra walking really does curb the appetite. Like
Yeah.
I felt less hungry, but I wasn't depriving myself, not one bit. I did not deprive myself at all for this challenge. And
Yeah.
um, I
Yeah.
just,
As someone who's done a lot of different versions of cardio for the interest of losing body fat or bodybuilding shows and this and that, I will say I was shocked the first time I decided to do only walking at how low my hunger was compared to previous preps where I was doing high intensity cardio. Because I'm sure you've done some high intensity cardio.
yes, I've tried all the different stuff, all the versions
Yeah.
of the hit and stuff. And I would find same thing that you say in your videos. I was exhausted and I was starving, when I would do
Yeah.
that high intensity cardio. So the walking really, I needed to put it to the test. Like when I hear information, I just don't accept it or deny it. I'm like, let me be the scientist of my own life and try
Yeah.
it. Same with your theory on metabolism, which that resonated right away. I'm like, you know what? What was I doing in my 20s when I was nice and lean without thinking about it?
Yeah.
I was a hell of a lot more active. So I even created playlists um, from music that was popular 30 years ago. And just like I would visualize myself back then and just kind of embody that younger version of myself. And my metabolism, it's like a brand new metabolism right now.
That's
I mean,
that's the reason I came up with that discussion on metabolism was because, well, it was me. It was my own realization that, okay, like I'm 49 and I have never stayed so lean so easy, and all I do is walk and go to the gym. And
yeah,
I might run around with my kids a little bit, but that's not something that and so I started thinking back, like you said, I was like, what was I doing when I couldn't gain weight in my teens and my early 20s?
yeah,
I literally was playing sports, and I went to college on a small campus and walked everywhere. I didn't, I had a
right,
car on campus, but I really only drove it like on the weekends. So like I can't even imagine. I was probably walking 4 or 5 miles a day just casually.
right.
So yeah, and it just occurred to me. And then so actually I did dig into the research, which I found some research suggests that our metabolism does not change almost until we're in our 70s or 80s. Um, but it's our lifestyle that changes. Obviously, the
I
dynamics of
wanted to share that with you. So I'm another case study. I mean,
oh, love it.
I've been losing weight for 6 years, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't have anything like this. The walking really, really, really was a really big part of it. Now, also, I want to give credit to the supplement from Core Nutritionals.
Yeah, I saw you mentioned hard, correct?
I did take that, and that was the only supplement I had never tried.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, well, why would these elite level athletes be required to take it? Right? There has to
Yeah.
be something in it. And I really feel that it helped flush out the estrogen from me, the puffiness.
Yep, there is the dim that is supposed to assist with that. I know you mentioned that you do a lot of meditating so that you felt that
Yeah.
your stress levels weren't too high.
No, yeah.
But I will say that I find the KSM 66, um, even my athletes that are calmer, it helps them because it reduces cortisol. So the
Right.
cortisol you would get from, say, an exercise session that may make you hungry inhibit your sleep. Um, I have quite a few clients that tell me they use Core Hard as a sleep aid. It's not designed to be that way,
Right.
but they notice when they take it before bed, they sleep deeper and longer, which is then going to have a profound impact on your recovery.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was another thing. My sleep was really good.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Listen, I'm just talking to you. Your energy is great. You're very bubbly. And I'll say this, like mental health is one of the biggest focuses that, the change in the kind of open conversations we have around having a therapist. When you and I were young,
Right.
they were called quacks. They were, like, oh, I'm going to
Right.
see, shrink. Like it was very demoralizing to say you had a therapist. Nowadays, it's almost like accepted, like, oh, you have a therapist, right? And so I think um, when I think of mental health, what I notice is that the people that are physically active, that have a community they're involved in, sleep better, right?
Yeah,
And so I think I mean, obviously there's a connection between our physical and our mental health, but uh,
definitely.
when you
I
get up
found that
and work
when
hard,
my mental health was going downhill and my emotional health, that's when I turned to the food and the bad habits and everything like that.
yeah,
Um, So I
yep.
think it really played a big role in putting on all that weight, you know. And
So,
then it backfires because now you have the weight affecting the mental health too.
oh, and then it's a spiral, and then you can
Yeah,
easily, you know, then you can start drinking more because you feel worse about yourself.
exactly. Exactly.
Um, so, I mean, obviously, you've had an amazing transformation. You're starting this year off. I mean, I can't even imagine. So, what's the difference from last year to this year? Starting the weight, what's like weight wise starting?
Okay, so about 150 to about 30 pounds.
30 pounds different. Probably
Yeah,
eating more. You
I
you
am eating more.
you sound
I'm
amazing.
eating, my energy is higher. I'm just stronger. Like the other day, one of my gym brothers sent me something about a guy that did 1,000 push-ups a day.
Hmm.
So for a week, and I'm like, well, let's see if I can do that. And I did 1,000 push-ups, real
Oh,
push-ups,
I mean, I can do a lot of push-ups, but that would have to require like a schedule because you can't
yeah,
obviously do 1,000 in a row. That's awesome.
right? And I did that throughout the day, and I can do pull-ups now. And I was never able to do a pull-up before. So all these little things are just exciting to me. I just really am
Well, it
happiest.
sounds like you're ticking off these goals. I'm curious, do you have anything in store for this year that you want to do?
I might join your next challenge
Okay.
and just kind of try to build muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're going to start that one in early February. We'll be announcing that soon.
It's a
Um,
possibility. I
that's an
won't go
interesting
as
idea.
intense.
I wonder if we could have because we call it a transformation challenge because I'm very careful to not call it a weight loss or a fat loss challenge, right?
Right.
Because I want to encourage people to improve their body composition, not just chase a number on the scale. And
Right.
I'll be honest, our decisions on placings are based on the pictures. Like we like to see the numbers and the weights and all that stuff, but
Right.
we're looking at who's physique improved the most, right? And it's not a bodybuilding competition, but obviously some athletes are going to get leaner than others, but it's not who gets the leanest, it's who had the most difference from their starting and ending physique,
Right.
right? Um, so it'd be interesting to add a category around, okay, so the goal for this category is who put on the most muscle or who,
Yeah.
it's interesting, because that's the
Do it.
challenge for me is very personal because I was trying to find something for the people that watch my content to kind of engage in that wasn't necessarily a bodybuilding show. I know not everybody wants to get on stage and do a bodybuilding show, and even if I do those, it's every couple years. So for me, the challenge was, although I never did one myself, um, I used to love I used to coach a lot of people. Bodybuilding.com had a great one. Um, when their website died, it left a big hole. And I think I'm trying to fill that void. And to this day, I don't know that anyone's completely done that. I'd like to continue to grow it. So, yeah, I'm looking at, you know, that might be a benefit. Get people involved that aren't just focused on fat loss.
Right. That are building muscle. Yeah. Put it in.
So, your goal this year is to just maintain the current like body fat level you're at while you add in some
Right.
muscle.
And I actually dropped more body fat. So is
Oops.
that 12? Well, no, that's fine. I'm not complaining. And you know what was different was I didn't focus on the results. This was like the only time I was able to do that in my life, not focus on a scale. I didn't focus on the measurements. I just focused on the qualities of like a
Yeah.
person that had the successful transformation. And it
Yeah.
just so much better. But I'd like to maintain my body fat level and build some muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you're ahead of you're ahead of schedule now that you've
Yeah.
recomped your body. But I think, especially for myself, I can say like I feel young, but facts are facts. I'm going to be 50 this year, and
Right.
there's definitely a point at which our quality of life is very dependent on the amount of muscle that we have, the amount of body fat that we have. Um, you know, health, hospital visits, all these things, like they increase exponentially when you put on body fat and lose muscle. Um, you know, fallen breaks and hip injuries and all these things that happen to, our grandparents, looking back now, I think, yeah, like, gosh, what would it have been like if they were as fit as we are now? So I think
Right.
it's one of the great things I love about bodybuilding. So maybe one of these days you could go to a bodybuilding show and just because I feel like you're the type of person that's going to go see it and go, yep, I'm doing it.
Right. I want to do it. I just
Yeah.
was reflecting before the challenge too, is like, again, I'm 51, so more of my life is behind me. And so I just want to get as much out of what's left.
So once the challenge ended, because you were already increasing your calories, did you change your step goals or anything like that, or you just kept them
Yeah,
going?
I brought them down. I brought them
Yeah.
down to about 100,000 a week, something more,
Okay.
you know. And I did that. I decreased them by 25,000 a week. So like I'm at
Yeah.
about a little over 100,000, but I have that as my baseline now.
So how long does that take you on a daily basis right now?
Well, I'm not even adding it up, but basically that would
Are
be
you
about,
tracking the steps just through a step
yep,
tracker, or are you actually trying to get
I have my
the?
watch. Like this morning, because I had this interview, but I have 8,800 already. It's 8:30.
Yeah.
And I had to get ready for this. So I'm
Yeah.
almost at my 10,000. So to get 20,000 a day isn't too bad for me because I really fell in love with that early morning walk, that
Mm-hmm.
just the peace and the quietude. I love that. So right there's 10,000 steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's about
what's
an
funny
hour and
is
a half.
after I started realizing how powerful steps were, I now find excuses to walk.
Right.
Like if I'm traveling, I will get a hotel that is, a 10 or 15-minute walk from my destination so I can walk there every day. And, like
Right.
it's funny how, and when you start to enjoy walking, you realize how freeing it is with food because you can eat a little more freely when you know you're going to be walking after or before,
Yep.
and then you can
And
enjoy
I'm
a little.
willing to do the work for food.
Yeah, listen, that's what we're all here to do. We're all here to enjoy our food guilt-free. Um, like sometimes, I eat fast food quite a bit, and I almost don't like sharing that because I feel like it's so demonized nowadays. But I'm like, listen, if you're taking care of your daily routine, you can have a little more freedom. It's like you said, you're
Right.
investing in that bank account each day. Um, so you've got a little wiggle room. If you've saved up some calories, you can have some freedom guilt free. Um,
Right.
that's really helpful.
I'm being pretty strict with myself with that because I do have an addictive personality. I don't do good with just one cookie or two cookies.
Sure,
So
sure.
I know that, but I just invented some healthy ones. And
Yeah,
it's like having a bowl of oatmeal. It's like the same macros. So
yeah.
um, I just enjoy the creativity part of it now with the food.
Well, perfect. Well, I'd love to have you in this next challenge. I think if anything, having you in the group, the one thing that I've noticed is that the groups almost start to worry that we're going to close the Facebook group because they're like, hey, how are we going to? So,
Oh,
me and the team, Christina, who is our amazing director, she has completely transformed our challenge. She's the first person. So, when I started the challenge years ago, I had someone that was working for me kind of help me, and we got it kind of running and it was doing well, but we didn't have the kind of focus that we have now with Christina. Like, she does such an amazing job.
yes, I
Now we're
agree.
talking about creating a year-round community, right? Based around these challenges where it's just the community and it can shrink or grow based on who's in the challenges, but it's something that us as a company, and we have our meeting here in a little bit, we're quite proud of, and we're just looking at opportunities to evolve it, providing more value to you guys. And I have a little something up my
Right.
sleeve for this one. So yeah, very excited. So anything you want to share? Anybody you want to thank? Anything you want to discuss before
Well,
we
thank you,
before we go?
brother. I appreciate all you do. And I appreciate your
Very welcome.
honesty and your integrity because you could just say anything to get more views and things like that. So I appreciate your honesty and respect that. And I want to thank my
Yeah.
beautiful gym family if they watch this interview. I pay it forward. I tell everybody all about you and your challenge, even the girl at CVS yesterday. And she literally took out her phone and started to follow you immediately. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
and I told some of my gym family about the core nutritionals, the product,
Yeah.
and they ordered it. Well, at least the one girl, I know she ordered it right then and there. So,
Well, you know, and I mean, that makes me really happy, Joy, because we don't spend money on advertising. Core Nutritionals does not spend money on advertising. And so they've been around for more than a decade because they make great products and they, you know, it's a word of mouth. And it's the same thing with Pro Physique is that I just realized years ago, you know, when I first started coaching, that the reason I was having success was because the people I was coaching were happy and they were telling other people. So yeah, it's
I told the whole gym, and I have gym family at all the hours. I'm the gym
well, they
butterfly,
want to know your secret, right? They want to know, like, what are you
right?
doing? Are
They
you doing a
did,
shot? Are you taking a fat burner? Like,
right?
you know, like, you know, even if I get stopped at a grocery store because I'm wearing a tank top and I'm lean or something like, no matter what I'm checking out with, oh, is that what I need to be doing to look like you? And I want to be like, man, no,
Right.
that's just what I'm eating today. Like, it's your lifestyle, it's your approach. Um,
Right.
yeah,
And a lot of my gym family, they've seen me over 6 years.
yeah,
And so they've seen me transform, but nothing like this.
right.
So, so I had to share with them. And I did tell
Good. Well,
everybody.
hopefully we get them involved. We're also considering doing a in-person event after this next challenge. Um, we've got a location and we've got a time frame, so we should be announcing that in the near future. But you know, because when it comes to this communication that you and I get to have, this community that we've built, I think that's something that's it's often difficult to find in your own proximity. You know, um, the internet has allowed for people to create communities of people all over, but meeting up in person is amazing. So we're hoping to have an in-person event, maybe fly out some winners and things like that.
Nice. Nice.
Awesome.
I
All right.
kept all
Well,
my communication, as you can see.
I mean, this is that I've never seen that before. If you would take a picture of that and send it to me.
I
Like,
will. I'm calling it my victory wall. But I just wanted to
well,
remember all the
congrats.
kindness that was given to me
Yeah.
through the group. Everybody
Yeah.
was so kind.
Yeah. And that's one thing we really focus on in that group. You know, we've had over the years, we've had a few, you know, people that were maybe a little bit negative and, you know, but for the most part, I would say overwhelming just support from people. Um, you know, and even some of the coaches for Pro Physique will let me know, like, man, this person's always commenting. They're so positive. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's me. I went on every day and I put a heart on everybody's post, unless it was a sad post. Then I put the care emoji, and then I send and then I send that person like love and blessings for their journey. Like I
yeah,
just do that.
that's
And
amazing. Well, it shows. I mean, you just have a bubbly personality. Really happy for your success. And I can't wait to see what you do
thank
next
you.
because I just feel like
I
you're just
can't
getting
either.
started. So,
Yep, I'm just getting started. I
well,
want to
happy
be
New
able
Year.
to fit 70-year-olds.
And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon, but happy New Year.
Thank
And
you.
I'll let you know when all this stuff comes out. Now, are you posting on social media platforms? Do you have an Instagram that we can go follow?
I do. It's not really I post just sporadically.
Okay.
But yes, go
Well, do me a
follow it.
favor. If you want me, when this interview, this podcast will come out, I'm gonna probably put this interview on my main channel. I mean, probably gonna put it on the podcast. So if you want us to, you know, shout out anything for you, just let us know. Email me.
Okay. Okay. Yep. I think
Awesome.
I might make little videos and stuff and just talk
Listen,
about.
you've got a great on-screen personality, and
Thank you.
I think it would be a wonderful idea. There's no negatives, just being yourself and trying to help others, I don't think.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for everything you do, Paul.
Happy Monday, happy New Year. Thank you, Joy, for kicking butt. I'm excited to share it.
Thank you. All
All right,
right.
talk to you
Have a
soon.
beautiful day.
You too.